paid for your sickest fancies. I've humoured your crackedest whim. Dick, it's your daddy. Dying. You've got to listen to him. Good for a fortnight, am I? The doctors told you. They lied. I shall go under by morning and put that nurse outside. Never seen death yet, Dickie. Well, now's your time to learn. And you wish you'd held my record by the time it come to your turn. Not counting the line, the foundry, the shipyards, the village too. I've made myself and a million. But I'm damned if I made you. Master at 22, married at 23, 10,000 men on the payroll and 38 freighters at sea and 50 years in between them, and every year of it fight. And now I'm Sir Anthony Gloster. Dying about a night. For I've lunched with His Royal Highness. What was it the papers had? Not the least of our merchant princes. Oh, Dickie, that's me, your dad. I didn't begin with askings. I took my job and I stuck. I took the chances. They wouldn't. And now they're calling it luck. Lord, what boats I've handled, rotten and leaky and old. Ran 'em or opened the bilge cocks precisely as I was told. Grubbed it and bind you crazy, and cruise it and turn you grey in a big fat lump of insurance to cover the risk on the way. The others, they dursn't do it. They said they valued their life. They've since served me as skippers. I went and I took my wife round the world. I drove them, married at 23. And your mother, saving the money and making a man of me. Oh, I was content to be master. But she said there was better behind. She took the chances. I wouldn't. And I followed your mother blind. She egged me to borrow the money. And she helped me to clear the loan when we bought half shares in a cheap one and hoisted a flag of our own. Patching and calling on credit. Living the Lord knew how. We started the Red Ox freighters. We've 8 and 30 now. And those were the days of the clippers. And the freights were clipper freights, and we knew we were making our fortune. But she died in Macassar Straits by the little paternosters as you come to the Union Bank. And we dropped her in 14 fathom and marked it off where she sank. Owners we were, full owners, and the boat was christened for her. And she died in the Mary Gloster. My heart, how young we were. So I went on a spree around Java, well nigh ran her ashore. But your mother came, and she warned me, and I wouldn't lick her no more. Straight to stuck to my business, afraid to stop, or I'd think, saving the money. She warned me, letting the other men drink. And then I met McCullough in London. I'd saved 500 by then, and between us we started the foundry. 3 forges and 20 men. Cheap repairs for the cheap ones. It paid, and the business grew. And they bought me a steam lathe patent, and that was a gold mine too. Cheaper to build ships than buy 'em, I said. But McCullough, he shied, and we wasted a year in the talking before we moved to the Clyde. And the lines were all beginning, and we all of us started fair, building our engines like houses and staying our boilers square. But McCullough, he wanted cabins with marble and maple and all, and Brussels and Utrecht velvet and baths and a social hall and pipes for the toilets all over and cutting the frames too light. But McCullough, he died in the 60s. And me, I'm dying tonight. I knew what was coming when we bid on the Byfleet's keel. They piddled and piffled wi' iron. I'd given my orders for steel, and the first expansions. It paid, I tell you it paid. And we come out with our 9-knot freighters and collared the long-run trade. And they asked me how I did it. Oh, and I give them the scripture text. Oh, you keep your light so shining a little ahead of the next. They copied all they could follow, but they could not copy my mind. And I left them sweating and stealing a year and a half behind. Oh, and then come the armour contracts. But that was McCullough's side. He were always best of the foundry. But better perhaps, when he died, I went through his private papers. The notes is plainer in print, and I'm no fool to follow if a man'll give me a hint. I remember his widow was angry, but I saw what the drownings meant. And we come out with our 6-inch rollers, and it paid me 60% with failures, and more than twice we could do, and $250,000 to credit, and I saved it all for you. I thought... Yeah. But it doesn't matter. You always favoured your ma. But you're nearer 40 than 30, and I know the kind you are. Harrer and Trinity College. Oh, I sent you to sea, but I stood you in education. And what have you done for me? The things I knew was proper, you wouldn't thank me to give, and the things I knew was rotten, you said was the way to live. For you muddled with books and pictures and etchings and china and fans, and your rooms at college was beastly, more like a whore's than a man's. Until you married that thin-flagged woman, as white and as stale as a bone. Oh, she give you your social nonsense. But where's that kid of your own? I've seen your carriages blocking half the Cromwell Road, but never the doctor's brougham to help the missus unload. So there isn't even a grandchild, and the Gloster family's done. Not like your mother, she isn't. She carried her freight each run. But they died, the poor little beggars. At sea she had them. They died. Only you. And you stood it. And you haven't stood much beside. Weak, a liar, idle, mean as a collier's whelp, nosing for scraps in the galley. No help. My son was no help. So you get 300,000 interest with the interest paid. I wouldn't give it you, Dickie. You see, I made it in trade. You're saved from soiling your fingers. Oh, but if there isn't a child, it goes back to the business. Gad, once your wife be wild, calls and calls in her carriage, her handkerchief up to her eye. Daddy, poor Daddy's dying. Doing her best to cry. Oh, grateful. Oh, yes, I'm grateful. But keep her away from here. Your mother had never a stutter. And anyhow, women are queer. There's some women say I'd married the second time. Not quite. But give poor Aggie 100 and tell her your lawyers will fight. Yeah, she was the best of the boiling. You'll meet her before it ends. I'm in for a row with your mother. I'll leave you to settle my friends. For a man, he must go with a woman, as women can't understand. Or those that say they can see it there at the marrying brand. But I meant to speak of your mother. That's the Lady Gloster still. I'm going up to see her without its hurting the will. Here, take your hand off that bell pull. 5,000's waiting for you if you'll only listen a minute and do as I bid you do. They'll try to prove me crazy, and if you bungle they can, and I've only you to trust to. God, why ain't he a man? There's some waste money on marble, same as McCullough tribe. Marble and mausoleums. But I call that sinful pride. There's some ship bodies for burial. We've carried 'em, soldered and packed down in their wills. They wrote it and nobody called them cracked. But me, I've got too much money. And people might... No, my fault. It come a hoping for grandsons and buying that walking vault. I'm sick of the old damn business. I'm going back where I came. Dick, you're the son of my body, and you'll take charge of the same. I want to lie by your mother 10,000 miles away, and they'll want to send me to walking. And that's where you'll earn your pay. I thought it out on the quiet, same as it ought to be done, quiet and decent and proper. And here are your orders, my son. You know the line. No, you don't, though. You write the board, and you tell that your father's death has upset you, and you'd like to cruise for a spell, and you'd like the Mary Gloster. I've held her ready for this. They'll put her in working order, and you'll take her out as she is. Aye, 'twas money idle when I patched her and put her aside. Thank God I could pay for my fancies. The boat where your mother died, by the little paternosters, as you come to the Union Bank, we dropped her. I think I told you. I marked it off where she sank. Tiny, she looked on the grating, that oily, treacly sea. 118 east, remember, and south just 3. Easy bearings to carry, 3 south, 3 to the dot. But I set MacAndrew a copy in case of my dying, or not. And so you'll write to MacAndrew. He's chief of the Maori line. They'll give him leave if you ask him and tell him it's business of mine. I built 3 boats for the Maoris, and very well pleased they were. And I knew Mac since the 50s. And Mac knew me. And her. When that first stroke come for a warning, I sent Mac the money to keep against the time that you'd claim it, committing your dad to the deep. For you are the son of my body, and Mac is my oldest friend. I've never asked him to dinner, but he'll see it out in the end. Stiff-necked Glasgow bugger. I've heard he's prayed for my soul. But he wouldn't lie if you paid him, and he'd starve before he stole. You'll take the Mary in ballast. You'll find her a lively ship. And you'll take Sir Anthony Gloster that goes on his wedding trip, lashed in our old deck cabin with all 3 portholes wide, the kick of the screw beneath them and the round blue seas outside. Sir Anthony Gloster's carriage, his house flag flying free, 10,000 men on the payroll and 38 freighters at sea. He made himself and the million. But this world is a fleeting show. And he'll go to the wife of his bosom, same as he ought to go, by the heel of the paternosters. There isn't a chance to mistake. And Mark will pay you the money the minute the bubbles break. He'll take you round to Macassar and you'll come back alone. He knows what I want to the Mary, and I do as I please with my own. Your mother would call it wasteful. But I've 37 more. I'll come in my private carriage and bid it wait at the door. For my son, he would never a credit. He muddled with books and he lived on Sir Anthony's money and he broke Sir Anthony's heart. And there isn't even a grandchild. And the Gloucester family's not. The only one you left me, oh mother, the only one. Harrow and Trinity College and me slaving early and late, and he thinks I'm dying crazy and you're in Macassar Strait. Flesh of my flesh, my dearie, forever and ever. Amen. That first stroke come for a warning. I ought to have gone to you then, but she prepares for a cheap one. The doctor said I do. Mary, why didn't you warn me? I always listened to you. Except, of course, about women. But you are a spirit now. And wife, they was only women, and I was a man, that's how. And a man, he must go with a woman as you could not understand. But I never told him secrets, and I paid him out of hand. Thank God I can pay for my fancies. Now what's 5,000 to me for a berth off the paternosters? In the haven where I would be. I believe in the resurrection if I read my Bible plain. But I wouldn't trust him at walking. We're safer at sea again. For the heart, it will go with the treasure, go down to the sea in ships. I'm sick of the hired women. I'll kiss my girl on the lips. I'll be content with my fountain. I'll drink from my own well. And the wife of my youth shall charm me. And the rest can go to hell. Dickie he will, that's certain. I lie in our standing bed, and Mark will take her in ballast, and she trims out best by the head, down by the head, and sinking her fire's drawn and cold, and the water splashing hollow on the skin of the empty hold, churning and choking and chuckling, quiet and scummy and dark, full to her lower hatches and rising steady. Hark! That were the after bulkhead. She's flooded from stem to stern. never seen death yet, Dickie. Well, now's your time to learn.